Monday is here with us once again. The tracker is back on your screens. There's a lot to munch on today on the show. I'm happy to tell you that we've moved on from a speculative phase from what last week's show was to a more definite phase. What am I talking about? Last week when we came here, we were discussing 4 likely candidates for the Black Stars job. Well, I can tell you this week that choice has been narrowed down to just one person, the chosen one, the only one, the Hughton one, whatever you want to call it. Chris Hughton is expected to be named Black Stars head coach somewhere this week. Now, he's been in Ghana doing a lot of things, connecting with his roots, meeting royalty and all that. So it looks as if he came to really entrench himself in the culture. And who knows, if he indeed does sign the dotted lines a few days from now, we'll see what his first steps will be when he's officially named Black Stars head coach. There's a lot to talk about as well. Sulley Muntari. Yes, you heard me right. He's back in the Ghana Premier League after all those years playing abroad. Italy, Spain, England, the Gulf. He's been all over the place. Finally, Sulley Muntari is back home, and it's with the mighty Accra Hearts of Oak, the Oak Tree, the Phobia, everything else. He made his debut yesterday. He's granted his first interview already. We'll be discussing that. We'll be also discussing what his move means for the Ghana Premier League. I can also tell you that Adonkudus has been cleared to return to first team action after 3 months. And guess what? Ayew keeps being a goal-scoring machine. Goal number 12 already for Al Sadd. He scored a brace against Al Ghaffara over the weekend. So Ayew in red hot form. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, our motivational video is ready for you. It's called The Power of Teamwork, because why not? The Teranga Lions of Senegal have just won the AFCON. They've just displayed what it takes to be able to win an AFCON, or what it takes to be able to win at all in anything. When we come back from that one, my guest Ayew Muntari is here. We'll start the discussion, so stay with us. Yes, that's it right there on your screens. The beauty of winning as a team. Like I said, the Teranga Lions have done it for their country. I'm talking about Senegal. They have won the first ever AFCON in the country's history. Now, President Macky Sall has declared today a public or a national holiday for Senegalese. So, Charlie, they just go party and just jam today because they've won an AFCON. Sadio Mane, of course, showing big guts to step up to take that winning penalty. Let me just even take snap thoughts on that before we get into the agenda for today. Ayew Muntari is here, sports journalist. He's my guest for today. Ayew, welcome to the tracker.
Thank you very much.
Just snap thoughts on Senegal going all the way to win their, maiden AFCON title. What are your biggest takeaways from that particular victory?
Biggest takeaways, you can never go beyond Aliou Cisse. First things first. The fact that you've been able to play this game as a player, make it all the way to the final, the AFCON final, and not win it. Turn into a coach, progress into coaching, and get that same national team that you play for into the final, and you also miss out. And being able to go back to another final, second year in a row, and this time around, you look at the kind of roller coaster that they put us through and they had to go through. Even the way they warmed themselves into the competition. In the beginning, the first 2-3 games, nothing spectacular, nothing special. He came under heavy criticism. And yes, you could say he missed out on a couple of players due to COVID. The likes of Edouard Mendy, they weren't present in the first 2 games. Koulibaly, the same. But once they got beyond the group stages, you could tell that this team was gradually growing into the kind of team that we all expected, the kind of team that we expected them to score many goals, the kind of team that you expected them to pretty much dominate teams. And they went about their business in an efficient style. In the final, it wasn't efficient though. They missed wasted too many chances. They shouldn't, like I said, they shouldn't have put us through that roller coaster. They should have bagged the title within 90 minutes, and they should have done that convincingly. But unfortunately, they missed out on all those chances, and they had to go through the penalty shootout. So it's always a nervous wreck. But they managed to pull through. The fact that they were able to get over that mental hump, because clearly the body language of the Senegalese and the Egyptians were in contrasting form. You could tell that the Egyptians were ready for the penalties.
They had been through at least 2 penalties or 3 of them already.
Exactly. And on top of that, you could tell that the Senegalese were a bit nervous. They had a lot of young players in the team. Yeah. This was their first time they were being put on a stage like this. And so, and on top of that, coming up against the Egyptians who had gone through a cycle of penalty shootouts. And already in the game, we had Sadio Mane's penalties attempts saved by Gabaski. And so they looked a bit nervous, but they were able to overcome it. And yes, I must give them the plaudits for that one. And also on top of that, you have to look at the individual brilliance. The individual brilliance of Koulibaly, the individual brilliance of Mendy, the individual brilliance of Sadio Mane. Because you miss a penalty and have that mental fortitude to be able to take the winning penalty. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of nerves of steel to be able to do that. And Edouard Mendy, it was pretty much a personal redemption for him because despite the fact that he's the best goalkeeper in the world, his ability to save penalties was always questioned. Was always questioned that, this guy, he's good. As great as he is, his weakness is that he can't save penalties. And it was on the line. The game was on the line. The trophy was on the line.
Managed to pull
one off. And so... And you look at Koulibaly, his presence, commanding presence at the back, it was just fantastic. The way he controlled the game, he marshaled his defense, it was just on point. And you just have to tip your hats off to those guys. And on top of that, going forward, they have a brilliant future. We look at the likes of Ismail Assar, Papa Gay, and co. And they will be around for a while. They will definitely be around for a while.
Well, Ayew Cisse gets redemption. Lost the final as a player 20 years ago. Lost again as a coach in the last edition, and finally has managed to get his hands on the AFCON trophy. So one of my colleagues did ask Sadio Mane if this was the most important trophy of his career. He said, "Not only is this the most important trophy of my career, it is the most important day of my life." That is what, or that's how much that trophy means to him as a person. So this morning he's been pictured with the AFCON trophy in his bed and whatnot. He woke up with the trophy beside him and whatnot. Amazing stuff, amazing scenes there. But let's come down to the reality of Ghana. Let's talk about what is going on, because we have no trophies to touch. We have no quotes memorable like that to grasp onto. What we do have, though, is the imminent appointment of our next Black Stars head coach. Like I said, last week we were talking about Ibrahim Tanko, George Boateng, talking about the likes of Otto Addo, and then even Chris Hughton himself. Well, this week I can tell you that those choices have been narrowed down. The GFA president, Keto Kreko, did travel to Germany to try and convince Otto Addo, but we understand that he has amended his position a little, and he's more receptive to accepting Chris Hughton as head coach of the Black Stars. What we can tell you is that Hughton has already held meetings with the Ministry of Youth and Sports, so it looks like all is set for him to be named head coach. Apparently, he was supposed to leave Ghana yesterday. I hear that he has extended his stay to be able to mash up the paperwork that needs to be done, and then, officially take over as Black Stars head coach. But that's not all he's been up to. He's been meeting Ghanaian royalty. Chris Hughton says that his father, who is in his 90s, is Ghanaian and is from Jamestown. And so he took the time to go out there to Jamestown to meet the Gbese Manche, Ayew Bunte II. Most of you would know him as Tommy Okai, former club chairman and CEO of Accra House of Oak. These days, he sits in the throne, royal guy. So Ayew Bunte II received Chris Hughton. They had a few discussions. Eventually, it's ended up in the Black Stars conversation. So take a listen to this. When we come back, Yao and I will dissect the Hughton situation, style of play, money we are spending to get him, and will he be the guy to lead us to the promised land? Watch this.
For me to meet you, I've heard so much about you, and I know that you are very wise and have so many words of wisdom, but also I know how much you enjoy football and football in Ghana. Predominantly the reason I'm here is to see family. My father's from Jamestown. At this moment, this will be a very, very proud moment for him. I was hoping to bring him to Ghana with me, but my father, at his age now, is probably not strong enough. Although he's well into his 90s, but is not well enough to travel. So for him also, for somebody that was born and brought up just around the corner here, it would be a very proud moment for him and my family. I very much appreciate and welcome your words of wisdom, and they are words of wisdom, and this is something that I will take forward with me.
Good morning, Chris. You are welcome to Ghana. I'm very happy that you are now in town. This is the city of Ghana. And then you are coming from a big family named Jamestown. Jamestown is one of the city of Accra. Also, we are most grateful that you are here at the moment. But I wanted to assure you, if you are assigned as the Black Star coach, then you have a lot to do. I will never hide it to you. Ghanaians doesn't like a draw. When they draw a game, I have been the team manager. I have been deputy chief executive before I became the chief and director of the club, a member. So I know what I'm saying at the moment. Ghanaians, you will get the support when the team is winning. But when the team is not winning, now we see we have 1,000 coaches. And for that, I need to assure you. But I hope you are going back, and by the Almighty God will give our blessing, you will make it. Especially Ghana, Nigeria. From today, we'll start our press. We want Ghana, during your time, we need to go back to the World Cup. Yes, we'll go back to the World Cup. During my time, we met Nigerians. They thought we are a team. At that time, I was the chief executive of the club. We drew with them here, the national team. And that we didn't get much time to prepare and then match them, but so far as the Nigerian national team is coming, we did it. Now I hope, being the brother, we need to give you support. Any missing link you doesn't understand, when you call us, we'll open the gate for you. I'm assuring you, we have done it. Always, I'm proud of myself. As a folk, during my time, when I was the deputy chief executive to my boss, Ayew, who won the Champions League and the Super Cup. No Ghanaian club have done it. No Ghana, up to now, it's about 22 years, no Ghanaian club. When he handed over to me too, we didn't go far, but we traveled to Kumasi and beat Kumasi at Tekotoko. It's about 18, 19 years. I was the first Ghanaian club chief executive to win the Confederation Cup, the Ghana and Africa. Me, my record, any trophy, I was the first Ghanaian club chairman to make it. When we go to the FA, all the trophy in Ghana here, MTN, Vodafone, everything, I'm the first Ghanaian club chairman to win that trophy. The administrators are there, but people doesn't respect us. We are there. Also, I don't want to see much, but I'll give my blessing. You are come to work for Ghana, for yourself. So far as you are a Ghanaian, the Ghanaian blood is with you. You should listen, you will make it. May the good Lord bless you.
Ni Ayew the second. The statement that stuck with me, he says, for any missing link, you need to get back to us. We will open the doors for you. Yeah, what does he mean?
I think basically he's telling him that you should always pay homage to the elders. Yeah. And he's an elderly man when it comes to Ghana football. He's part of Ghanaian football royalty.
Yeah, definitely an achieved one, accomplished one.
Exactly, he has been through the mill. Yeah. He has seen all of these young stars develop into big time stars, legends of our game. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that that's what he's trying to tell Chris Hughton, that if you encounter any kind of problem that goes beyond football, or even if it's connected to football, and you can't solve it, you can lean on guys like us.
We'll open
the doors for you. Yeah, because sometimes you need. It's all about communication.
Yeah,
and
really
Chris Hughton, though, is Ghanaian, but he hasn't been in Ghana for a long time. I doubt
he comes in and out.
Yeah, I doubt he knows the real culture of the country, and so you definitely don't want to overstep your boundaries. You don't want to step on some toes. You definitely need some guidance. Yeah. And I believe that when he has people like the Bese Manche on his side, he will be able to navigate those landmines and be able to be successful.
You know what was funny? Chris Hughton went to the Bese Manche basically to greet him and say, I've come here to reconnect to my roots. This is where my father is from. And so this is basically an introduction of myself. And then immediately he was told that the Black Stars job. Meanwhile, Chris Hughton had not mentioned the Black Stars job. He says the Black Stars job in Ghana, everybody is a coach. There are 1,000 coaches, and Ghanaians don't like draws and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Chris Hughton had not mentioned the Black Stars job. So I think this was even more like
telling.
Yes, it was more revealing in terms of Chris Hughton's leanings towards the Black Stars job, because ever since he popped up in Ghana, and I have that picture there, I think it's in there, when he popped up in Ghana and was at the Labadi Beach Hotel, met with father of Callum Hudson. There was supposed to be a secretive meeting, but Citi Sports managed to get a picture. When he popped up, I mean, it was all made to sound as if, yes, that's the meeting right there, where he was meeting father of Callum Hudson Odoi. This was the Labadi Beach Hotel, the night after he arrived. It was all meant to look like he had come here to come and reconnect, like year of return type of stuff, but we all know that that's not what it is. We all know that he had another motive for visiting. He only didn't want to make it look too obvious. But now let's actually discuss the merits of Chris Hughton as a manager. So there's the school of thought that says that he's been relegated a couple of times. He went to Nottingham Forest and was fired just in September. Nottingham Forest have since then gone on to do on the championship. They've knocked Arsenal out of the FA Cup. They've knocked Leicester City out of the FA Cup. People say that he plays very negative football. And so this is just like Milovan Rajevac 2.0. And so why are we bringing in Chris Hughton? Where do you stand on the issue of his competence and style of play?
Competence-wise, I think he checks the box. Competence-wise, because it's not every day that you get a manager who has managed in the English Premier League, head coaching your team, your national team, especially in this part. So competence-wise, I think he missed the grade. Style-wise, I think we could have done better, because you look at the profile of our players, the star players that we have, the potential star players that we have, and they are attack-minded players. Yeah. And you would think that once we go in for a new coach, we go in for a coach that can help develop our young players to become stars. Because now our players, they are as talented as they are not yet elite players. Yeah. They are on the brink of becoming elite players. So you need an offensive-minded coach or attack-minded coach to bring the best out of them. Yeah. And someone who is good working with young talent. And when you go in for Chris Hughton, who's defense first, conservative style of play as a coach, it doesn't really match with the kind of players that we have, the caliber of players that we have.
And even with the culture of Ghanaians like gung-ho, free-style attacking football.
Exactly. And so that's where I have a little bit of a problem with the eminent appointment. And on top of that, you look at the recent record of Ghana under coaches who are defensive-minded. It hasn't been pretty. You look at Milovan Rajevac, it was poor. CK, you don't even understand whether he has a specific style of play. But per what I saw under CK, it was clear that he made it difficult. He made it difficult to beat him.
Defense first guy.
Exactly, defense first guy. So you look at the last two appointments that we've had, defense first guys, and the results have been poor. And so when you're going for another defense first guy as a third appointment in a row, that's a little bit of a worry. And that's where I agree with people who push back on that appointment of eminent appointment of Chris Hughton. I thought we could have done better, knowing very well that now government is willing to spend more money to go in for a top-tier coach. I wouldn't say an elite coach, but a top-tier coach. We could have done better by taking all the boxes, by going in for a manager who works well with youngsters, who is offensive-minded, a manager who is likely to stick around for the long term, because this Chris Hughton appointment, eminent appointment, I must say, it has too much interim basis written about it. Because
why do you say that? Because I feel like he is in the twilight of his career as a manager. I want to say he thinks he's done enough club football, and so maybe he wants to delve into the national team pool, and he would probably want to do it long term. That's what I think. I don't know what you think.
I don't think so, especially looking at the circumstances we are in. Let's say Chris Hughton goes and plays the playoffs, the World Cup playoffs, and we lose. What is the next step? Are we going to sack him and bring in another coach? Because it's clear that between the FA and the government, they are playing your turn, my turn with the coaching system. And so government goes to appoint CK Akono. The GFA adopts a wait and see. CK fails. Then it's the GFA's turn to bring in their coach. They bring in Milo. Milo fails. Then it's now the government's turn to bring in their choice of coach. And so should Chris Hughton fail, the FA will be emboldened to push their candidates to the fore. Now your candidates failed. It is our turn to push our candidates to the fore. And so that alone has interim basis written all over it. And on top of that, do we have the patience to
talk
sit
about
around?
Ayew Ceesay's 8 years being given the chance to coach Senegal.
Exactly. Do we have the patience to sit around and wait for, let's say, Ivory Coast 2023 with Chris Hughton if we fail to make it to the World Cup? Because let's face facts. Even the government is also heavily invested in this whole issue of the Black Stars head coaching job. And so, if let's say we miss out on the World Cup, the government will be under immense pressure.
A lot of pressure. They didn't qualify for the last World Cup.
Exactly.
They didn't qualify for this World Cup.
Exactly. They'll be under immense pressure to make amends for missing out on 2 World Cup campaigns. And so they will definitely cave in. I see the government caving into a candidate that the FA would push. And once that happens, you don't have a say when it comes to seeing Chris Hughton as a long-term basis. And those are the main options that I look, and I shudder to believe that there's no way this guy has a long-term or medium-term basis as a head coach, Black Stars head coach, on him in terms of the tag deal on the first trial. It's very likely
the jury will be out on him.
It's very likely he'll be gone before Ivory Coast 2023.
Interesting thoughts there. I still have a few more legs of the Hughton topic that I want to discuss, but let's take our first break here on the show. When we come back, we'll wrap up the discussion on Chris Hughton, and then we'll talk about a few more Ghanaian players that are out there doing some stuff out there. So stay with us here on the Tracker. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Tracker here on Citi TV, discussing everything Black Stars players, and whatnot. We are still talking about Chris Hughton and his imminent appointment as Black Stars head coach. Now, 2 things I want to talk about before we move on quickly. First of all, we always complained that we didn't have money to hire a top-tier coach. And so, even with Rajevac, we said that we could not give him the $35,000 that were given to his predecessors. All of a sudden, we've moved up to the bracket of about between $75,000 to $100,000. Now, my first question is, if we can afford that money all of a sudden, is Hughton the guy we should be hiring?
No. If you can afford that kind of money, Hughton is not the guy you should be hiring. A guy like Lucien Favre should be the guy you should be hiring.
Isn't Lucien Favre old and already too entrenched at Dortmund to be able to move anywhere?
Well, he's free at the moment.
Dortmund relieved him of his job a while ago.
Duties. And he's free at the moment. And when you look at a guy like Lucien Favre, like you said, he's pretty much up there in terms of age. And he hasn't coached at the national team level. So this would have been the perfect opportunity to pretty much have a relaxed kind of a schedule. It's not that every weekend you have a big game at hand that you have to game plan for. But when you are the national team coach, you have a leeway when it comes to the intensity of your work schedule, because there are so many months that you don't have to do a lot of heavy lifting. All you have to do is just monitor and continue to fine-tune your tactics. And so for a guy like Lucien Favre, with the kind of money we are prepared to spend on a head coach, I think Lucien Favre was the best candidate. And he also expressed interest in the Black Star job per the reports that have come in. And when you look at his track record, his ability to work with young players, if you're able to get Mario Balotelli in 2 seasons to score 43 goals in 66 games, then you are definitely a manager.
That's literally the best anybody has gotten out of Balotelli in his adult spell even.
Exactly. And Balotelli also credits him as the one guy who was able to teach him football tactics. Balotelli as a young player growing up, he relied on natural instincts to play. And this was the guy who could break down tactical formations to him, structures to him, that you need to move into this space. When you see the ball developing in this part of the field, you make this run, you create space for your teammates, you create space for yourself, and you can position yourself to be able to score more goals. This is the guy who consistently has achieved big things with the various teams that he's worked with. Coached at OGC Nice, took them to the Champions League. Coached at Borussia Mönchengladbach, qualified them to the Champions League for the first time in decades. He was able to groom youngsters. That's why I say, per the players that we have, a guy like Chris Hughton isn't the best choice for the players that we have, because if you have abundant young talent in Kudus,
especially attacking young talent,
Afenejan and co, Mishaku and co, you need a guy who can groom youngsters to elite level. And you look at Lucien Favre, he did that at Mönchengladbach with Marco Reus. He did that with a guy like Granit Xhaka. He made Granit Xhaka one of the most sought-out players in the transfer window, 4 or 5 years ago. And so you look at this track record, it's brilliant. His ability to work with youngsters. And so for me, he should have been a guy Ghana should have gone in for. And on top of that, he makes the short-term, medium-term, and the long-term plans that we have.
Finally, on this coaching matter, again, still on money, when it came to Avram Grant, I remember, $50,000. We ran into arrears for a couple of months. In fact, his video analyst, Herald News, had to sleep at Alisa Hotel for a couple of days when he was actually due to leave the country because he had not been paid his money. CK Akono, we racked up arrears of his salary into almost a year. And as things stand now, I'm hearing that both CK Akono and David Duncan are owed monies. Kwesi Appiah, same thing. We ran into arrears with Kwesi Appiah on his 35,000. He basically had to come out to say that we were trying to starve him and trying to kill him as a person before we eventually ended up paying up his money. Why are we so sure that we can afford this type of upper level money that we've never attempted before without having any hitches? Why?
Well, it shows the kind of desperate mode that we are in. It's desperation. Desperation will force you to do things that you never thought that you would ever do. And so back in the day, we had a solid stance that we are not going beyond 50K. We are not going beyond $35,000. Then all of a sudden, we saw approaching tournaments. Our style of approaching games isn't working anymore. So we became desperate. And that's why we've upped the ante. And now we are in the top tier level of payment of coaches, especially when it comes to these parts, African countries. And that's why we are desperate to the point where we are shelling over, 70,000 to go in for the imminent appointment of Chris Hughton. And I think we could have solved all this and prevented all this if we had invested in our coaches. You give them the proper training, you give them the proper remuneration, because as things stand, the junior national teams coaches haven't been paid for 2 years. So you give them the proper remuneration, you give them the proper training. Yes, individually they have to also improve themselves. they also have to make a little bit of sacrifice. But you can buttress that, or you can balance it out by organizing state-sponsored coaching courses to these top European programs.
Then DFA promised that, actually they just haven't delivered on that promise.
Sure. Then once that happens, then you bring them back to the national team setting. Yeah. Then you cap the salary around $25,000, around $20,000, with the proper argument that we spend this amount of money on you to gain this level of education. So that kind of money would have ideally been added to your $25,000 or $20,000 to make it $50,000, to make it a little bit appreciable at the world level. But because we invested this amount of money in you to improve you as a coach, then we have to cap it off at $25,000. Then we'll be able to save a little bit of money, and at the same time be able to improve the level of coaching in our local circuit.
Let's carry the conversation on. Let's go to Ajax Amsterdam Football Club. That's where Mohamed Kudus plays his football. Now, when I was in Cameroon, it was funny because every single day you'd hear news that Kudus is joining at dawn. Kudus is joining the next day at 3 p.m. Kudus is coming in the evening. Kudus is coming at midnight. Kudus never arrived because he had a rib injury that he needed to treat. Now, he's not played active football since November of last year. He was finally cleared to play in the Eredivisie match Ajax had against Heracles Almelo this weekend, but he was an unused substitute. Yeah, is Kudus the brightest prospect in the Black Stars? Is he our best young player now?
Yes, at the moment, yes. Because you look at the stage he's on, playing in the Dutch Eredivisie, and he's playing pretty much for the biggest team in the land. On top of that, his ability, his overall ability, and what he's been able to produce so far. When you compare that to a guy like Kamal Dean, when you compare that to a guy like Felix Afenajan, and you compare that to guys like Fatau Ishahaku, he's pretty much been the most consistent, and he's been able to do it long against quality opponents. I mean, Ishahaku has been consistent over the years, couple of years, but you look at the quality of opposition or the quality of competition. He's doing it in the Ghana Premier League. He used to do it in Division 1 with Real Tamale United, and so you can't put him on the same level as Mohamed Kudus. And so for me, I think he's our brightest prospect, and it was imperative for him to fully heal from that injury to be able to, for us to be able to get the best out of him, because the last thing you would want is a guy who is limping throughout the game, who is half fit, and on top of that, there's intense pressure. And for me, I believe in this fact. Once you are able to make it to the pitch, forget about. I don't want your excuses. If you are hurt, sit out of the game.
If you are able to make it to the pitch, you should be able to play.
To the pitch, give me your 100%. Don't give me any kind of excuses. And Ayew did the right thing, and I believe personal input also went into it. Kudus definitely had his say. They considered his input in that decision for him not to come to the Black Stars and join the campaign in Cameroon. And for me, I think it was a good decision from the team's perspective and from an individual's perspective. And team perspective, I don't mean the Black Stars, because I thought they were out of their mind, respectfully, to go in for a guy who got injured whilst playing for Ghana, mind you. And on top of that, you want to risk re-injuring this guy. There's no way you should have done that. So Ajax did well by stumping the authority.
Audacity.
Yeah, the audacity to go in for and to push that kind of narrative. Yeah. It was a bit too much. And so for me, Ajax did well. And on top of that, definitely these kind of decisions aren't made without personal input. Kudus definitely had a personal input in that decision, and I congratulate him for sticking to his guns, because you definitely have a long career ahead of you.
Let's take our second break here on the show. When we come back, I'll just give you a glimpse of what Ayew has been doing in the Qatari League, and then we'll talk about Sulley Muntari. He made his debut for Accra Hearts of Oak over the weekend. Stay with us. Welcome back to the tracker here on Citi TV. Let's go to the golf, because that's where Black Star skipper Ayew plays his football. He's already scored 12 goals for Al Sadd. So in the game played this weekend against Al Ghafara, he scored a brace again. Ayew really just doing his stuff out there. Yeah, just snap thoughts on Andre and his time in the golf. He's really been doing it big.
Oh yes, he's really been doing it big, and you look at the numbers. The numbers are outstanding. They're very impressive. But at the end of the day, you wonder why he isn't able to translate that kind of form to the Black Stars. And for me, I think it's all about positioning. Where he is now in his career, he can't man our wings anymore. He doesn't have the legs to do so. Work rate wise, he tries his best, but it's not at par with the kind of intensity and the work rate that you need from your modern day winger.
Yeah.
And for me, his best position at this stage in his career is to play a bit closer to goal. And on top of that, you look at, more impressive, you look at the kind of goals that he scores. Most are from headers.
Yeah.
And
he's very good with his head.
He's very good with his head. And so for me, that's where we need to tap into. If we still want him, or Chris Hughton, the eminent Black Stars head coach, wants him in the Black Stars fold, that's where he needs to be played. Either he starts the game or he comes off the bench. He needs to be played closer to goal. Playing him out there on the wings doesn't help. And once you play him through the center, closer to goal, and you have guys who can whip in the crosses, consistently feed him, he will definitely be able to get his head to one of those balls and connect consistently to get us goals.
Andre Ayew doing big things in Qatar. Hopefully he can keep that form going. Let's come down to Ghana and let's talk about Sulley Muntari. He has signed a 1-year deal with Accra Hearts of Oak. Says that his son, his small son, played a big part in him deciding to join Hearts of Oak. He says that his relationship with Togbe Afede and the likes of Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo also played a big part in him deciding to sign with Hearts of Oak. He made his debut in the Mancha Derby, played about 10 minutes or so. We don't have highlights of that debut, but he's already held his first interview with Accra Hearts of Oak. He spoke about why he joined, spoke about what he makes of the current team and all of that. Let's listen to Sulley Muntari, and then we'll come back here and then we'll dissect it before we take this show home.
Muntari, good to see you. Welcome to the biggest club in Ghana. How does it feel to play for this great club?
I just had three training sessions with them. It's good. I grew up in Ashanti, but then I came to Accra for football, and of course every young kid years ago grew up to see Hearts of Oak play great football, and it's a top team, one of the biggest in Africa. So I'm happy to be part of it.
What went into the decision in choosing Hearts?
My son.
Your son?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not decision to play now. It's my son, but decision to play for Hearts of Oak, it was easy. I lived here in Accra also. Before even when I come down for holidays, I train with Hearts of Oak. I met Dr. Tamaklo, the president himself, Afede, and then a few of his friends, and some of the players too. I met them, and yeah. So I've been watching Hearts for a long time, and I know a little bit about the team. So it wasn't a hard decision to make, but the push was my son who asked me to come to start playing because he wants to come to the stadium and watch me play. So, and I said okay. Since the friendship with Hearts was there long before, so it was very easy for me to choose.
You're talking about training. You've had the opportunity to train with a team for some weeks now. What do you see with the guys you train with? What is the determination? What sort of team do you think you are joining in terms of the few times that you've had the opportunity to train with them?
Yeah, it's a good team, very young team, a young technical team. So there's ambition there, and of course me deciding to join the Premiership also to be able to help these young ones, guide them in the right path. But the coach is there also, but then guide them the right path. Not only Hasselfolk, but teams that we're going to play, because if Ghana football or Hasselfolk play good football, it's going to benefit the league and it's going to benefit the country. So that's some of the reasons too.
Talking about the Ghana football and in the league, you've played in Italy, you've played in Spain, you've gone to the Gulf, you've played in England. I'm sure a lot of people might have forgotten you play in the Ghana Premier League. Do you remember your first Ghana Premier League game?
I don't. But for me, it's great to be back here. I've been watching. Even when I come home, I go to the stadium. I watch the Premiership. So for me, where I played outside and it doesn't matter for me. Now it's here. This is my home. Giving back to the society, giving back to my people. That's the most important thing for me. So I'm right here now. I'm gonna train really well to be able to be fit so that I can help out. But my focus is for Hasselfolk to be able to play good football and make the fans happy, and then see at the end of the season what we can achieve.
Sulley Muntari there speaking to Accra Hasselfolk media for the first time. Yeah, he says that he was influenced by his familiarity with the club and also his son's willingness to see him play football. He also said Accra Hasselfolk have a young team, blah, blah, blah. But of the Asamoah signing by Legon Cities, what lessons can Accra Hasselfolk learn from this acquisition of Muntari?
Manage your expectations. Yeah, that's the first thing. Yeah, manage your expectations and be ready to cash in on Muntari. So far, they've done a very disappointing job at that, cashing in on Muntari, especially in the lead up to a very big game like the Manchester Derby.
Explain that further.
For instance, okay, you've interviewed him and the interview is only available on the Hearts of Folk app. A lot of people don't want to download the Hearts of Folk app because beyond this interview, what am I going to get from the Hearts of Folk app? Why don't you put it out there on Facebook? Why don't you put it out, have a Accra Hearts of Folk page on YouTube? That's one. By having a lot of views on YouTube,
gets you some money.
It gets you some money. A lot of subscriptions will come in. It gets you some money. That's one. How is it possible that you sign a player and his replica jersey isn't available? A player as big as Muntari and his replica jersey isn't available.
I can assure you that if they were available, they would have sold out by now.
Exactly. Especially in the lead up to the Manchester Derby. Timing is key in everything. If you sign Muntari, let's say, once the season is over, let's say 2 months before the season starts, by the time he's ready to play on the pitch, that impact would have elapsed a little bit. But you have two big games on the horizon against Kotoko.
This is the best time to sell Muntari jerseys.
Accra Great Olympics. This is the best time to sell jerseys, and the replica jersey is not even available at the Secretariat. Not at any place that you know of where the replica jerseys are readily available. So that is one major thing that they've missed out on. They haven't been able to cash out on
I want to believe that in the next 48 hours the replicas will be out.
Hopefully.
I want to believe that.
Hopefully, especially in the lead up to the game against Asante Kotoko. So hopefully, if that's out, then they should manage to get some cash in. And on top of that, the management of expectations. Don't expect Muntari to come in and score 10 goals. Don't expect Muntari to come in and score and assist on 10 goals. I definitely see Muntari being able to get a penalty to score a goal here and there. I definitely see him being able to get a tap-in 1 or 2. And I definitely see him manning the central midfield area, the ball breaking into his path for him to be able to unleash 1 or 2 trademark long-range shots. Yeah. So definitely I see Muntari being able to score a couple of goals, maybe 4, and he being able to grab a couple of assists because he will take set pieces, he will take free kicks, he will take corner kicks too. So yes, if I see Muntari at the end of the season bagging, let's say 5 goals and 5 assists,
you won't be too surprised.
That wouldn't surprise me. And so, Hearts of Oak, manage your expectations and be able to cash out on a guy like Muntari.
Thank you very much, Ayew Minta. So you heard him there. Accra Hearts of Oak, please, give us those Sulley Muntari replicas, please. I want mine. Give me the Sulley Muntari replica. That's it from us here on the tracker. Thank you very much to the supporting crew and everybody. Thank you very much to you out there that did the watching. Same time next week, we'll be back on your screens here for the tracker.